साउंड चेक करो। ऑडिबल है? Hi, good evening, good afternoon. I'm having back-to-back classes, 3 consecutive classes in a span of 6 hours. So I thought, let's have a mug of tea. I'm really sorry getting late. That which I do every time. Okay, so we are starting climatology today, and you need some basic understanding of the fundamentals of climatology. But before that, I would like to take some of your SMS. Vandana, Dhyan Chand, Mohammad Anis, thank you for the wishes. Swati, Pawan, Sangeeta Rai, JK Sahani, Somendra Singh, Nikas Verma ji, thank you for joining me. And since I got late, some of you have left also. कोई बात नहीं है. You have every reason to be upset with me because I am almost 15 minutes late. Anyways, it's pretty cold in Delhi, and I was keeping not so good health, but I'm fit and fine. I still took your classes and I still completed whatever was required. Wow, great tea. Krishna Murari. कृष्णा मुरारी, फी कम रखिए। फी कम रखने का रिक्वेस्ट आया है। चलो ओके, लेट्स बिगिन विथ क्लाइमेटोलॉजी। क्लाइमेटोलॉजी पर एक ओरिएंटेशन तो बनता है। वेट, climatology, this term has been derived from, one is climata and another is logos. Climata meaning bales of latitudes, bales of latitudes, and logos meaning field of science. Logos meaning field of science. Logos meaning field of science. Bales of latitude. This term was actually discovered by none other than Ptolemy. Ptolemy was a cartographer and he defined geography as the art of map making. So he was one of the, he was called the father of cartography. So he defined climatology cartographically. Because what is the meaning of bales of latitude? Bales meaning a collection of latitude, a jumble of latitude, a group of latitudes. So when you take group of latitudes, say 90 degree and 75 degree north. So when you take this group of latitudes, this has uniformity in terms of the climatic elements here. So it has uniformity in terms of the climatic elements like say rainfall or precipitation, temperature conditions, the air pressure or the pressure belt, then maybe the wind direction. In terms of the seasonal changes, there is a certain degree of homogeneity. Now 75 to 65, this region, these bales of latitudes are having different climatic elements, varying climatic elements in terms of rainfall temperature. So if the rainfall here or temperature here is 0 to 10 degrees centigrades, the temperature here is 10 to 20 degrees centigrades. So there is a variation. Now this is how these bales will be regarded as one climatic zone or climata, and this will be regarded as another climatic zone or this climata number 2. This is how climatology came into being. And now the simple meaning of climatology is the study of the bales of latitudes. And the bales of latitudes meaning the study of climate, because these bales of latitudes will be representative of certain climates. Bales of latitudes meaning cluster of latitudes, a series of latitudes. So 60 to 65 or 10 degree north to 10 degrees south will be called equatorial latitudes. So 10 degree north to 10 degrees south have a series of latitudes or the bales of latitudes, which will be considered as one climatic zone. So the study of climates is climatology, right? Now this is the simplest definition which is possible. So please write, because This is mains class, so you need to write also from the basics to the highest level. Please write. Climatology refers to the scientific analysis of the weather elements for a given bales of latitudes, or climata, which are also referred to as the climatic zone. Now write very important thing. Therefore, climatology involves the quantitative and qualitative methods for analyzing the meteorological data on a synoptic chart, synoptical, SYNOPICAL, synoptical chart अभिषेक रंजन, हिंदी मीडियम में तो बैच स्टार्ट हुआ ही आज से, और इंग्लिश में तो भी शुरू हो रहा है. Ajay Kumawat on the complete topics. You can get a video class or you can get the live class also, but only after the completion of this batch. Okay. On the synoptic chart meaning the weather charts. Fine. So the weather elements like the pressure, the duration of sunshine, the wind velocity, the wind direction, the temperature of an area, the rainfall condition, the specific humidity of an area. So all these are called what? Weather elements. So data is collected for all these weather elements and even more, and then synoptic charts are prepared, and on the basis of the synoptic charts we determine the climates. So now what is a climate? You must write what is a climate and what is weather and what is the difference between climate and weather. So we must begin here. The difference between climate and weather. Climate versus weather. Climate versus weather. What is the fundamental difference between the two? This topic is in your mains also, and any climatology must begin with the definition of climatology, definition of climate, and then differentiating it from weather. So please write climate. Likho climate according to Trevartha. He is a modern scholar. According to Trevartha, is the aggregate of weather elements aggregate of weather elements and not their sum total or the averages. Look at this statement by Trivartha. Climate is the aggregate of weather elements or weather conditions of an area and not their sum total or the averages. Now let me explain Trivartha's statement. Previously, climate of a region was ascertained on the basis of the averages taken for 32 years. You will find this statement in G.C. Leong. You will find this statement in the Köppen's classification. You can find it in your old NCERT as well. But this statement has been refuted by Trivartha, and most of the scientists today, they have greater inclination for Trivartha rather than for the old definition of climates. So the difference between Trivartha and the previous definitions of climate is I'm explaining it with an example. Say Kolkata has monsoon climate, and in a particular year it rained 50 centimeters. In a particular year it rained 150 centimeters. It happens. So there must be some years with the minima of rainfall and certain years will have the maxima of rainfall. Now take the mean value of the minima and take the mean value of the maxima, then create a range of rainfall. And this range of rainfall will actually reflect the rainfall conditions of Kolkata. This is Trivartha. This is how he explains climate as the aggregate of weather condition, not the sum total or the averages. Because if you go by the previous definitions, Kolkata's rainfall for 32 years will be scripted and it will be totaled. The sum total came and it will be divided by 32 years. So the averages will come out as 80.5 centimeters or 90.9 centimeters. So 90.9 centimeter was considered the climatic condition of Kolkata, the climatic regime of Kolkata. Trivartha went against it and he said, no, such averages will not reflect the reality. Rather, you have to take the range of rainfall. Range of rainfall, how to be calculated? Certain years will have the minima, certain years will have the maxima. Now their mean value and then create that range. For example, say Kolkata had 10 years, different years, it had rainfall sometime 80, sometimes 60, sometimes 25, sometimes 72. Then on the higher side, it was 100, 120, 95, 99. Now calculate what is the mean value. So it will come around, say, it will come around 80 or 78. And here, say, it will come around 110. Now the rainfall for Kolkata shall be written as 80 to 110 centimeters. And never the averages meaning all these 4 plus 4 meaning there are 8 numericals with us. We add them and divide them by 8. So that average will come around 85, 87, whatever comes out. So the previous approach was to write 87 centimeter rainfall for Kolkata, which was calculated for 32 years. Now there is a new tendency among climatologists that they will be indicating the rainfall condition by writing 80 to 100 centimeters rainfall. And this effort by this suggestion by Trivartha has been adopted by most of the scientists today. So today we define we define climate as not the average of rainfall or average of weather conditions, rather we define it as the aggregate of weather conditions. Okay, so tell me how many understood this idea of Trivartha? How to define a climate, whether climate should be aggregate of aggregate of weather elements or average of weather elements, which one is more suitable for the modern and contemporary climatology, which one is more scientific, which one is more applicable? Respond, tell me. Balraj Singh Yadav, hello sir. What will happen to 11:30 to 1:30 batch? 11:30 to 1:30 batch will continue. Sumendra Singh, why you are worried about 11:30, 1:30 batch? It will continue on the same time. How do you get these questions? Aggregate is the perfect answer. Thank you, Swati. Okay. Now coming to the weather, what is weather and how weather will be defined? So, weather is day-to-day phenomena, day-to-day or hourly. It refers to the hourly changes in the lower tropospheric conditions. What is weather? Trivartha ne bola aggregate of weather condition is climate. Now what is weather? Weather is the hourly changes in the lower tropospheric conditions in terms of what? The same weather elements. Okay. So which one is referring to the short duration changes? Weather is short duration changes. Climate is more or less fixed for an area. Okay. तो लिखो, weather में लिखो. Weather refers to the diurnal, day-to-day meaning, diurnal or hourly changes, hourly variations in the lower tropospheric conditions. Troposphere is almost 16 kilometers high. So lower tropospheric meaning up to 5.6 kilometers. So the conditions which are rapidly changing or which are varying within the troposphere or the lower troposphere, they are considered weather changes. Okay. Another paragraph, एक और paragraph लिखो. Right, climate is more or less fixed. Climate is more or less fixed for a given bales of latitudes. More or less fixed. And climatic elements are stable. For a long period of time, for a protracted period of time, for a long period of time. But, now this side, but Weather variations are rapid. Weather variations are rapid, unpredictable, fast, rapid, unpredictable. And difficult to detect. Rapid changes will be found in weather, while climate is more or less static. Say, we talk about monsoon climate for India. Now, monsoon climate is stable for last so many thousands of years. Since the known history of man, we have monsoon climate. But weather conditions within the same monsoon climate is so rapidly changing because maybe it is cold right now and it will start raining after a day. So there will be diurnal variation. But overall the winter conditions will prevail. So climate will prevail and weather keeps changing. Another comparison, third comparison. Right, climate change takes place after millions of years. Climate change hota hai, but after millions of years. And it only refers to a small variation, a minor variation in the temperature conditions, minor variation in the temperature conditions. For example, 2 to 3 degree rise in temperature, rise in the mean temperature of the earth. For example, 2 to 3 degree rise in the mean temperature of the earth, or maybe global temperature, can lead to global warming, and similarly 2 to 3 degree lesser temperature will lead to the ice age or the cold period. But this is very important, but these small variations in temperature, in the temperature culminates into enormous changes in the weather across the globe. Enormous changes in weather conditions across the globe. Across the globe, the weather will be so much rectified, so much transformed. The weather upheavals can be found. Climate fluctuates very at macro level, at very large scale, the global scale pe climate will change. It changes at the global scale, but weather changes will be much more intensified. A small change in climate leads to enormous change in weather. So a small change in climatic condition will lead to massive changes in the weather condition. That is what I was trying to tell you. Now come to the weather conditions. Right, weather conditions are weather conditions have high range of changeability. High range of changeability. From extreme dry to excessive rain. Look at the range from extreme dry, zero rainfall, to suddenly heavy rainfall. From warm condition to cold waves. This weather. From warm conditions to cold waves. That is weather. From bright sunshine to cloudiness, to dark clouds, and suddenly it will be dark all over. That is weather. So weather will manifest itself in no time. A cyclone coming to your coast will rapidly change the weather. So cyclone will be a carrier of weather conditions, not climate. Now write next paragraph. The climate is a static concept. Climate is a static concept. But weather is a dynamic concept. Weather is a dynamic concept. Then एक और लाइन लिखो. Weather वाले साइड में weather is the subset of climate. Subset of climate. Is a subset of climate. This is how we define weather. Next point. Right. Climate is a spatial concept. As we talk about climate, it is a spatial. A spatial meaning signifying a space or area. So when we say climate, it is denotive of certain area, certain region. So climate is a regional concept. Climate is a spatial concept. It signifies a particular area. Like we say Mediterranean climate. Now it indicates what? Particular regions of the world. We say monsoon climate. So it is definitely indicating some part of the world. But when we say cyclone, it indicates a functional system, a functional meteorological system, not the space or an area. So please write, while weather signifies or weather indicates a functional process-oriented functional and process-oriented meteorological system. Therefore, weather is a functional concept. So climate is a spatial concept signifying area. And within that area, we have to study the aggregate of weather conditions. Now here, weather is a functional concept where we have to study the rapid rate of changes, the variations. Next write. इसमें एक और अच्छा लाइन लिख सकते हो. लिखो, weather is the cause and climate is the effect. नहीं? So weather will be the cause. Since climate is the totality of weather conditions, so weather is the cause. So weather is the cause and climate is the effect. So any climate of a given area is the function of, is the outcome of, is the totality of weather conditions. Next, right? Next point. Right. Climate. Climates are associated with vegetation, physiography. If there is a land which is forested, it is likely to have more rainfall. If you remove the vegetation, the rainfall will be reduced. If you remove the Himalayas, for physiography, I am giving this example. If you remove the Himalayas from the place it is located, there will be no monsoon climate over North Gangetic Plains. The North Gangetic Plains will become cold desert because it will be swept across by the cold Siberian waves. I hope you know this. So, climate can be influenced by, climate is associated with the vegetation, the physiography, the relief features, the altitude. Different altitudes will have different climates. So climate, for a particular climate, the physiographical studies are also important. Okay? So physiographic reason and climatic reasons, they have some kind of semblance. Now weather, right? Because weather conditions are associated with the amount of water vapor, latent heat, the duration of sunshine, the obliquity of the sun rays, the penetration of the sun rays, the verticality of the sun rays. So weather conditions are associated with, I can tell you one example, that in the afternoon at 2 p.m. highest maximum heat is possible, and in equatorial region the maximum rain will also occur. You know why? Because the sun rays are vertical. So verticality of the sun rays can also produce certain weather phenomena which are very exclusive to particular regions. Similarly, the amount of latent heat is important for the formation of cyclone or the moving air masses and the fronts and the rainfall in the fronts. So all these air mass, front, jet stream, they are all weather conditions. They are all weather phenomena. Cyclones are weather phenomena. Simple precipitation is a weather phenomena. Simple precipitation. Okay. Then one more, because this topic is mentioned in your main syllabus for civil services. So you need to elaborate, you need to understand more. One more point, please write climate. The factorial analysis of climate अगर हम लोग करेंगे तो लिखो the factors behind climate or factors behind various climates. Climates are largely influenced by such factors like distance from the sea and the duration of sunshine, continentality, how deep it is located within the continent. So continentality can lead to the formation of deserts as well. Like you have Gobi Desert because of the continentality. The moisture can never reach Gobi Desert, so it's a desert. So the factors of climate: distance from the sea, latitudinal position, must write latitudinal position, continentality, sunshine, the pressure belts, I didn't say air pressure, I said the pressure belts, then the global prevailing winds like the trades, the westerlies, the polar easterlies. These are the global prevailing winds. These prevailing winds will never change their direction. They are almost constant throughout the year. So they are largely responsible for the creation of various climatic regimes. Okay, so these are the factors behind climate. Now, factors behind weather. So factors behind weather, may please write the pressure gradients. The pressure gradients. The difference between high pressure and low pressure. That is called pressure gradients. Then thermal gradients. The difference in temperature, the difference in pressure, local temperature, the differences in the vertical temperature, and differences in the horizontal layers of the atmosphere, vertical layers of the atmosphere. So the temperature gradient, it is called in the scientific language, the thermal gradient, pressure gradient. Then convection, advection. When the warm air is moving upward, it is called convection. When the air is moving horizontally, it is called advection. So convection, advection, gradients, they produce weather condition. Fine. They are responsible for the weather conditions. I hope my efforts are not being wasted, and I hope you are writing well and preparing good notes. And I really hope that you are not undermining these topics like difference between weather and climate. You learn the language of geography. You have to write in the typical vernacular of geography, or typical language, typical linguistic flavor of geography, typical vocabulary of geography. So you have to use the vocab of geography. This is how some people will start finding it very difficult to understand in the beginning itself. But as a teacher, it's my duty to give you the best notes, and maybe after the completion of the classes, when you try to reread these notes, then you find a good sense of delight that, oh, my notes are well prepared. And so day 1, 2, 3, it becomes very difficult for some of the new students. They take very adverse decision about the subject. They get a very wrong impression about the subject, that it's going to be difficult all the time. No, it won't be difficult all the time, but the initial class is going to be a little difficult because of the vocabulary. So, but concentrate hard enough. I'm trying to explain everything. You will have your own adaptation after some time. Taking your SMS. Rajiv Ranjan sir, Hindi medium class I took from 9 to 11. 9 से 11 मैंने हिंदी मीडियम क्लास लिया. तो अर्जुन आर्या, सुमेंद्र सिंह, हिंदी मीडियम में आज सुबह से शिवदयाल शुक्ला जी आ गया. बिल्कुल मोनिका, व्हाई नॉट, दैट इज माय लाइफ. That is what I do. I will definitely help you out in every way. चलो बताओ, ध्यानचंद, वंदना, अनीस, गुरजोत सिंह, जो भी लोग देख रहे हो, बताओ whether you guys are able to capture this particular concept or not. What is climate and what is weather? Now, for all those who have just joined and all those who are looking very miserable, I can give you one small explanation. Say this is our continent and this is 0 degree is our equator. So let's understand. Now along equator we call it equatorial climate. This belt is what? Equatorial climate. 10 degree north to 10 degrees south. Now why we call it equatorial climate? We call it equatorial climate because within 10 degree north to 10 degrees south, the conditions are largely homogeneous. The rainfall regime is more or less the same. Every day, 2 p.m. you will have afternoon shower. And that's for throughout the year. The sunshine, the amount of sunshine is also more or less homogeneous. The temperature conditions are also ranging between roughly 18 to 27, or rather you can say 22 to 25. This is more accurate. So the temperature range, the rainfall regime is fixed for these particular latitudes. So these latitudes will be said to have one single climate, and that one single climate is the equatorial climate. Now, weather elements are found within the climate because weather is the subset of a climate. So within the equatorial climate, the rainfall phenomena, the afternoon shower is the weather element. No? The measurement of temperature at 12 o'clock, at 4 o'clock will give you the weather elements, right? The cloudiness, the thick cloudiness at 2 p.m. and the clouds will suddenly vanish at 4 p.m. These are called the weather changes. It's extremely hot in the afternoon. It's pretty cool at 4 a.m. in the deserts. If we talk about desert climate, so this phenomena will be the weather changes. So weather exists within the climate. And the totality of weather or the aggregate of weather, when we take the averages of weather for 32 years, then we can predict a particular climate, or we fix a particular climatic regime. That is what the concept is. So weather signify hourly changes, rapid changes, fast changes, day-to-day changes, and climate is more or less an static concept which actually relates to a particular area or a particular region of the globe or particular segment of a globe where the conditions are more or less homogeneous. So that was our discussion on what is climate and what is weather. How many understood? Please write, or if you have any particular question, just go about it. Very clearly captured, sir. Vandana. Understood. Dhyanchand, Muhammad Anish. Wonderful. Great. You are going great guns. Shailesh Kumar Pal, good evening. Okay. Now, coming to another topic. So, by far, in climatology, what we learned? A, the definition of climate. B, weather versus climate. Weather versus climate. And then C, What is atmosphere? What is atmosphere? It looks very simple, but it is not so. These questions are very intrigue, very complicated. What is atmosphere? There is a simple way to define it also. There is a very complex way to define it also. So what is atmosphere? And then we will learn about origin of atmosphere. Then we will learn about the composition of atmosphere, and then a structure. Then a structure of atmosphere. So composition and a structure. It's a very popular question in Haryana PCS, also in Uttar Pradesh PCS, Bihar PCS. It is very popular. Not so much in civil services, but civil services will ask very smart questions. And such questions will be something like, from the structure, we will talk about troposphere. Okay, troposphere is the lowest what? Lowest part of the atmosphere, that is troposphere. And within troposphere, you have normal lapse rate, or the concept of lapse rate. And from the concept of lapse rate, what comes out is inversion of temperature. And the UPSC will ask you inversion of temperature and associated weather conditions. That is what is UPSC. But if you go to the state level examinations, simply discuss the composition and structure of atmosphere. That is your state level. But from UPSC, don't expect such questions. UPSC will ask you, not troposphere. There is a phenomena called lapse rate in troposphere. And because of the lapse rate, you have inversion of temperature. And there are types of inversion of temperature. And the inversion of temperature will lead to maybe foggy condition and the formation of dews. So UPSC can go to any level. I hope you understand this. But for PT, anyone writing PT, you have to know it all. Troposphere, lapse rate, inversion of temperature, fog, dews, sab padhna hoga. Having said that, coming to this Coming to this point now, to this question now, what is atmosphere? Please write. What is atmosphere? Likho, atmosphere refers to the mixture of gases which encircles the earth and is being held by Earth's gravity. Encircles the earth and is being held by Earth's gravity. A lot of people will write, sir, reduce the price of the course. But remember, when you pay the price, you learn. I repeat again, when you pay the price, you learn. I have paid the price in my life, I have learned. You want to be successful, you have to pay the price. It may be sounding little awkward because generally teachers will not talk about price and all, but I'm different and I love talking on your any query, whether it is on politics or religion or women or whatever talks are going on, or Kisan Morcha. I love talking on them. And your trolling will not refrain me from talking my point of view. And my point of views are based on my experience, not really the greed of money, which many of you will think of, because that part has been satisfied, and I'm very happy with my present economic status and everything. But I tell you something, I was in Hyderabad in my initial days and I was very benevolent. So there I started a batch with the poor students, which was priced 0 rupees. 0 rupees. This is, I'm talking, no, not 0 rupees, for 2000 rupees or 1500 rupees, the full course I offered. Now what happened that a lot of mass came, a lot of people came. They joined the course and then they left. They have no respect for the course. They have no respect for my hard work or the other teachers who were working so rigorously for them. You know why? Because they have not paid the price. So they never wanted to learn. They came, they giggled, they ridiculed, they make mockery of some of the teachers. They make even a bad name for the institution also. Next month, I raised my price to 20,000 in Hyderabad. Then I offered the course. Almost the same number of people joined me, and the course was very, very successful. And then I produced so many results from that one batch. Sunil Nayak, the IZ in Bihar. So many. Richard, the Indian Revenue Services. Narayan Reddy, the IPS in Hyderabad. Babuji, the IPS again in Andhra Pradesh. So many I remember. From one single batch. And look, I am on court. I am live today. I am live with YouTube as well. So maybe whoever is there, wherever is there. So I'm not making any false rumor-based statement. I'm telling you the truth. This is the experience of my life. Then I learned, don't offer any great valuable thing for any small price. What you learn from my classes, you learn vocabulary, you learn confidence, you learn body language, you learn how to write essay, you learn how to write geography, you learn so many things, you learn opinions. So why should I sell my course for a low price? Mercedes always will be sold for a high price. It is good to be Mercedes and selling 5 products in a year rather than Maruti Suzuki. So don't try to convert me into Maruti Suzuki, a Maruti, whatever. Thank you. I don't write all this because I'm going to react. I'm going to take you on. So if you don't feel like joining my course, don't join it. You have so many options. Go and join other places. They're all doing well. I will never sell my course for any lower money because it is you who will ridicule me again and let me down again. अगर मजबूरी है तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? Because the society itself has taught me a lot of lessons. So leave that apart. Come back to our discussion on atmosphere. When I see a lot of requests coming for fee and all, then हिंदी जीएस बैच विल बी फ्रॉम 20th 20 तारीख से हिंदी जीएस बैच होगा। आज उसका भोला कुमार, आज उसका वर्कशॉप भी है 7 बजे से। डियर मोनिका, डू सेल्फ स्टडी and take my help outside the classes, but and for poor students or whoever जो भी conditions ठीक है नहीं है, you can write on my WhatsApp or come to see me in Delhi. I can provide you whatever assistance you want. चलो, okay. So what is atmosphere? Atmosphere is the mixture of gases which encircles the earth and is being held by earth's gravity. Okay, it is being held by earth's gravity. Wonderful. What is mixture of gases? When we say mixture of gases, it simply means mixture of gases simply means what? Air. So what is air? If you ask someone what is air, अरे यार इंटरव्यू में भी ऐसे लोग पूछ लेते हैं, छोटा सा क्वेश्चन, what is air? And then you don't get the clue. क्या बोलूं मैं? air sir, this is air. Air is a mixture of gases. It's not a compound of gases, है ना? What are gases? Gases are compound of elements. लिख लो. What are gases? What are gases? Gases are compounds of elements. Now what are elements? Elements like O is an element, hydrogen H is an element, है ना? N, nitrogen is an element, but O2 is a gas, helium is a gas, NO2 is a gas, carbon is an element, है ना? Elementary level पे. So this is your atmosphere. अब one very important line for atmosphere, right? देखो, atmosphere is a complex circulatory system. The gases are flowing, mixing. Circulatory system where in the vertical and horizontal columns, the energy is being transferred. अरे सब कुछ तो एनर्जी ट्रांसफर है. Any weather phenomena is basically transfer of energy. That's it. So it's a complex mixing system. With energy transfer or transfer of energy. Now, on the basis of this kind of mixing and movement and the physical conditions, we divide mainly the temperature condition, we divide the atmosphere into different layers, okay? So, there's layerification, we will talk after some time, but before that, we have to talk about origin of atmosphere. So, please write origin of atmosphere. Origin of atmosphere. In origin of atmosphere, there are two theories. One is the galactical motion of the sun. So, the galactical motion of the sun around the center of Milky Way. लिख लो, around the center of the Milky Way, around the center of the Milky Way. Milky Way क्या है? Our galaxy is called the Milky Way. So galactical motion of the sun around the center of the Milky Way, and keep writing, and the revolution of the earth, around the sun, captured the gaseous molecules or the gaseous elements, gaseous particles from their space. So when Earth was revolving, because of the Earth's gravity, it captured some, space material, and the sun itself was revolving along with the 9 planets or 8 planets now. So along with the 8 planets, the sun was also revolving around the center of the galaxy. So that is called, the sun's revolution is called galactical motion, right? So sun was revolving, the earth was also revolving within the solar system. So because of all these revolutions, the earth was traveling all across in the Milky Way. And when it was traveling across the Milky Way, it could capture some of the space elements which were gaseous in nature. So this is one of the theories. Now please write, the present scientists believe that the space material or the galactical material is only 1%. The galactical meaning galaxy ka material. Galactical material is only 1% of the total atmospheric mass. It is only 1% of the total atmospheric mass. Only 1% of the total atmospheric mass. And the other side, the second theory is the tecto-volcanic origin, and this provided 99% of the atmospheric mass. 99% of the atmospheric mass has been contributed by the tecto-volcanic activities. So this theory is more significant. Let's learn this also. Let's learn this. And you can do jottings of your own. मैं डिक्टेशन इस पे नहीं दूंगा बिकॉज ये इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है. But for a beginner, it will be a delightful learning. So, 4.5 billion years before present, 4.5 billion years before present, the surface temperature of the earth was 6,000 degrees centigrades, equal to the surface temperature of the sun. Now, what is the physical state of sun today? What is the physical state of sun today? Gaseous, plasmatic at the base, liquefied when you move towards the core, right? So, the earth was also, in all probability, earth was also a gaseous ball with a lot of fire. But then it started cooling down, the heat engine started cooling down. and the surface cooled down first and crust was formed. So initial crust was formed because of the solidification of the earth, outer realm of the earth. It got solidified. So this 6000 temperature is now found in the core. The upper part has actually cooled down. So we have this crust, and roughly I can tell you 3.5 billion years before present, meaning it took almost 1 billion years for the formation of crust. 1 billion years. It took 1 billion years for the solidification of the earth, and crust was produced 3.5 billion years from now. So this is the crust, and I need to get rid of this. Okay, now this is your crust, and these are temperature conditions, 3.5 billion years. Now understand that in the mantle you have radioactivism. Even now you have radioactive layers roughly around 35, 75, 100 kilometers depth. So you have a lot of radioactive decay taking place in the mantle, and here in the core you have a release of intermolecular energy. Intermolecular energy by fusion reaction and also fission reaction. Fusion and fission reaction say molecular energy is also being released. In fusion reaction, two lighter elements will collide to form a heavier element, and that produces energy. In fission reaction, a heavier element will break down, and the bonding, the energy which was binding them will be released. That is your fission reaction. So the intermolecular energy, radioactivism, and the energy, when so much energy is being released, this energy must find its gateway somewhere from the crust, and around 3.5 billion years the crust blasted. At many places it got blasted, and huge craters were formed, and in many places even you have such fissures through which magma started pouring out. Earth was having ballooning effect. Earth was ballooning because of the heat which was being produced inside, generated inside. So the earth was ballooning, and it cracks developed, blasted, flying caps, crust will be shattered and it is blowing out. So such boom boom phenomena was taking place around 3.5 to 3.1 billion years from now. So roughly 3.1 billion years, this boom boom event was called the Great Tectovolcanic Age. This was called the Great Tectovolcanic Age by Chamberlain. Chamberlain calls it the Great Tectovolcanic Age, and because of these volcanic eruptions, what came out was the gases. The metalliferous magma which came out, it formed the shield. Magma formed the shield. But these gases came out, and these gases will be held by the Earth's gravity. And Earth's gravitational field extended up to 3,200 kilometers. If this is a sea level 0 kilometer till 3,200 kilometers, we had the Earth's gravitational field. तो जहां तक अर्थ का gravitational field था, वहां तक गैस फैलेगा. And the gases were not able to escape from the Earth's gravitational field. So they were being held by the Earth's gravity. And this is how atmosphere came into being, because of the blast. So most of the gases are actually drawn from the Earth's interior. I hope you understood. And which all gases will be there and what will be the composition of atmosphere to begin with? We'll talk about it. But I can give you one more example related to the moon. When Neil Armstrong landed over, I mean, even this is controversial, whether he landed or not. So when the pictures from the moon came, it is showing that so many craters are there. But there is no atmosphere over the moon, meaning the same kind of cooling, same kind of tectovolcanic age must have prevailed over moon as well. But since moon's gravity was 1/6 of the Earth's gravity, so the gases were not held by the moon and the gases escaped into their space. So when the gases escaped into their space, moon is not having any atmosphere. Now the question is whether there is any life possible on moon? No. Maybe anaerobic bacteria could be found, but without gases, without oxygen, there is no possibility of life. Another question is, can we humans settle over moon? Because our Shah Rukh Khan purchased a plot on moon. So can we humans settle over moon? No, we can never settle over moon, because even if you get water there, how would you create atmosphere? So maybe man will be living there, but with an oxygen chamber over his head. He cannot survive there for more than, say, 5-10 days or maybe 1 year. But life is not possible on moon. Okay? Now coming to, but science में कुछ challenge नहीं कर सकते हो. Science को you can never challenge. पता नहीं क्या कर दे. So this was your atmosphere. Now our first atmosphere was made of, so the first atmosphere, that is 3.1 billion years to 3.5 billion years old. This first atmosphere was made of mainly hydrogen and helium, mainly hydrogen. Helium is a product of hydrogen. I know you all understand this. So hydrogen, helium, and maybe carbon dioxide, and what came out was water vapor also. Now this water vapor will be very significant. So first atmosphere was actually composed of hydrogen, helium, mainly hydrogen. Hydrogen is the lightest gas, okay? And when Earth lost most of the hydrogen from its mantle zone, then the second most important gas, which was filler gas, which is called filler gas, was nitrogen. So second atmosphere, which is roughly 2.8 to 3.1 billion years, was having nitrogen, mainly nitrogen, then hydrogen, then again carbon dioxide, etc. But again the oxygen is not there. Oxygen is very minuscule or absent. Even in the second atmosphere, we have the filler gas called nitrogen. Keep writing also. So we have nitrogen, but we don't have oxygen as such. We have anaerobic conditions, but as I indicated, there was some amount of water vapor. So when the volcanoes erupt, water vapor is 60 to 65%. And those times, billion years back, even if the water vapor was meagerly found, or I don't know which percentage was there, nobody can establish that. But it is only said that there was water vapor, and this water vapor erupted and formed cloud. So the whole earth was surrounded by cloud because water vapor was accumulating, and the condensation of water vapor will produce cloud. And when you have cloud surrounding the earth, cloud will begin to rain as their humidity, as the moisture amount of moisture was growing. So it started raining, and when it rained heavily for millions of years, it is said for millions of years, and that is called the Great Deluge. The Great Deluge. The whole earth, the craters of the earth, they were all covered with water. The lowlands were covered with water, and there was no land visible. There was no land visible. There was shallow ocean all across, and craters were the deepest part of the earth. So they all stored water. So it was a watery planet, a blue planet in the true sense. The story will continue. So when it rained heavily for millions of years, then the sky was rendered clear because the CO2, the carbon, the soot, the dust particles were all cleared off, and there was a fresh atmosphere emerging, mostly with nitrogen now. And hydrogen being the lightest gas, it took a different altitude. Hydrogen reached the top because the lightest gas, because of buoyancy. And the nitrogen filled up the entire, but I tell you, still oxygen was not there. Or maybe some oxygen molecules were, or elementary form of oxygen was there. Maybe O18 was there, not O16. O18 was there. Different isotope was there. So these oxygen isotopes are still found impregnated in the ice fields of Antarctica and Arctic. So we have evidences to prove that, but this oxygen was in very small quantity, not like 21%. So we have the third atmosphere now. The present atmosphere will be called the third atmosphere, which has evolved through time, or rather, which is evolving through time. So first atmosphere, so many million years it remained with hydrogen. Then for so many million years, imagine, so many million years, it remained with nitrogen. And now then, when life came on the earth, especially the vegetative life, especially the algae, the planktons, the phytoplanktons in the ocean. So when the life came in the ocean, because of, I have told you previously also how life came. So when the life came in the ocean became carbon sink zone. They used carbon dioxide and they released oxygen, and gradually oxygen was added in the atmosphere, and the amount of oxygen has increased with time, right? So oxygen has increased with time. Presently, the composition of the atmosphere is largely static. Most of the gases are now static. Their numbers, their quantum is not growing as such or diminishing as such. Recently, we have found that the CO2 is on the increasing trail, but it is still debatable how much. 3 times people say, but we have to see and we have to conclude maybe in the coming decades, not now. Okay, so we have 3 atmospheres. So first, second and third atmosphere. Third atmosphere will be from 2.8 billion years to present, and the third atmosphere is having nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and so many inert gases. So this was the story of the origin of atmosphere. Tell me how many actually understood and how many are struggling now. Vivek Kumar Singh. I am not getting video on full screen. Rajiv Ranjan, you can surely prepare, because CGL preparation will give you the backgrounder for civil services. शिवानी चौधरी, हिंदी मीडियम बैच तो आज शुरू हो गया. Thank you, Bola Kumar. You are happy with the nominal fee, that is 13,000 for GS students. Vandana writes, understood. Understood, sir. Swati Yadav, Shikha Yadav, getting everything, sir. Okay, wonderful, great. Dhyan Chand, very beautifully explained. Oh, thank you for your kind words. Vivek, if you are not getting video on full screen, which device you are using? Mobile or laptop? This course program has been stopped for laptop. Okay, wonderful. Now, taking up another discussion point. Is the composition of the atmosphere. So let's talk about the composition of the atmosphere. So when we say atmosphere, we are talking about the present atmosphere. So let's talk about the composition. Composition of the atmosphere. So we have gases, we have solids, and then we have liquids as well. So our atmosphere is composed of mainly gases, but some solids will be, microscopic solids will be there, and some microscopic liquids also are there, which are suspended in the air. They have not enough mass to be attracted by the Earth's gravity, so they are suspended. Now gases you can make a list of it. So we have nitrogen, roughly 78%, 77.8. Then you have oxygen of 20.9. से अच्छा है कि you can write oxygen is around 21%. Then you have carbon dioxide. Then you have argon. If you go by sequence, then you will have argon. So argon will be, or you can simply write AR, will be 0.9%, 0.9%. CO2 is 0.01%. So these are the main four gases which will constitute your atmosphere. And then you have a list of inert gases like neon, krypton, xenon, methane. Inert gases, they are found in traces. So they are not very significant. Found in traces. Since they are found in traces, meaning very low quantum, so they are not so important. They have their own utility, neon gas in the tube light and all. So that you study in your general science. Xenon, krypton, methane, ethane, benzene, पता नहीं क्या क्या गैस हो जाएगा. So inert gases का लिस्ट है, छोड़ दो उसको. We are mainly concerned with nitrogen, oxygen, CO2, and maybe to certain degree argon also, but argon is also an inert gas. This is also an inert gas. Inert gas. Now write something for nitrogen. So write something for nitrogen. Likho nitrogen is a chemically inert gas in atmospheric condition. Chemically inert gas in atmospheric condition. Nitrogen does not react. It can react in laboratory, but not. लिखो, it regulates combustion. Combustion को regulate करता है. So it regulates combustion. It is a filler gas. It is a filler gas. Now oxygen is a life-giving gas. It's a life-giving gas, oxygen. Oxygen is a life-giving gas. And then write it helps in combustion. It helps in combustion. Without oxygen, you cannot have combustion. Life-giving gas. CO2 is a greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gas. So CO2 is a greenhouse gas. What is greenhouse effect? So CO2 is a greenhouse gas. And it is product of combustion. CO2 is a product of combustion. It came through volcanic eruptions, then by burning fossil fuels. Burning of fossil fuels is also adding CO2, leading to greater greenhouse effect and therefore global warming. This is the greenhouse gas. Then argon, I told you, is an inert gas. बल्ब में argon हो सकता है. Okay. Now write another gas which is very important. लिखो water vapor. Water vapor. Must write. लिखो water vapor is a variable gas. Water vapor is a variable gas. Water vapor is a variable gas. Must write. Responsible for all the weather phenomena responsible for all the weather phenomena. If there is no water vapor, there will not be any rainfall, any front, any cloudiness, any what? Cyclone, impossible. So it is responsible for all the weather phenomena. Along equator, water vapor is 4%. Along equator, it is 4%. Along equator it is 4%, and at mid latitudes, this is the equatorial zone, so water vapor is 4%. Along the mid latitudes, roughly 45 degree north, it is 2 to 3%. 75 to 90 degree, this is polar region, this is mid latitude. So along the polar region it is 0.4%, meaning water vapor is maximum at equator and minimizing at pole. There is the distribution of water vapor. Now, very much concomitant to the discussion on water vapor is the law of constancy. Law of constancy. So, please write what is law of constancy. According to this law, in a given dry column of air, across latitudes, the total proportion of the gases will remain constant. Where dry gas meaning, or dry column of air meaning, dry gas nahi, dry air. So where dry air means gaseous mass minus water vapor. Gaseous mass minus water vapor. So gaseous mass, water vapor minus water vapor, meaning if the water vapor is not present, it is called dry air. Now look at this law. It says that if water vapor is not taken into account, then if nitrogen is 78% at equator, so it will be same at the pole. Please learn this. The amount of nitrogen will remain the same Whether it is mid latitude, it will remain 78% your nitrogen, and here also it will remain the same. It will remain the same. It doesn't change. So proportion of nitrogen or oxygen or carbon dioxide or any other gas will remain the same allwhere. But with the variability of water vapor, their proportion is also going to change. Like I tell you, if 4% is the water vapor here, so in this case, nitrogen will not remain 78%. Please concentrate that 78% से कम हो जाएगा. It will be less than 78% because 100 में it will be 96 का what? 78%, no? Because 4% is what? 4% is it is 78% of 96. 4% is water vapor. So 96 ka 78% will be not 78%, less than it. So amount of nitrogen will be increasing towards pole if it is combined with water vapor, or if water vapor is also accounted for. Matlab, the amount of nitrogen is also variable across latitudes. Why it is so? Because the amount of water vapor is also changing with latitudes. But if water vapor is disregarded in the equation, totally removed from the equation, then the amount of nitrogen will be constant whether it is pole or equator. Tell me how many understood this. Respond. Methane is a reactive gas. True, but not in all the atmospheric conditions. Even nitrogen is a reactive gas. Nitrogen reacts in the lab. Thank you, Priti Sharma. Okay. Understood? Now, coming to this chart again, so we have now solids. We are done with the gaseous composition of the atmosphere. Now coming to the solids. So within solids you have what all? So you have aerosols, carbon soot, dust particles, like that. They all must be ranging between 5 to 11 microns. Their size will vary from 5 to 11 microns, and they all such particles will act as hygroscopic nuclei. Hygroscopic nuclei. Hygroscopic nuclei or water seeking nuclei, which is essential for condensation and cloud formation. I can tell you here that if if we remove all the aerosols or these solids from the atmosphere, it will never rain. It will never rain. The water vapor will remain as a super cooled gas, and the water vapor's temperature can be reduced to -40. Even then, no condensation will take place. No clouds can be formed. So you can understand that there is immense role for these solid particles. They have been really defamed in the era of global warming and this urbanization and population explosion. They are the most abused terms: aerosol, soot, dust. They look like, agnostic, but they are very significant for what? For the weather phenomena, because aerosol, soot and dust, they act as hygroscopic nuclei, and that is what will lead to condensation and cloud formation. I tell you, I'm repeating again, that without solid particles there cannot be any condensation and cloud formation. Okay, now the liquids. So what all liquids you have? So maybe you can have water droplets. Water droplets can be there. Then you can have your ice crystals, maybe ice pellets. So ice pellets, ice crystals, water droplets. हो सकता है hygroscopic water. It can contain hygroscopic water as well. It can contain hygroscopic water. So liquids can also be found in the atmosphere. Liquids are very important because that is what will cause rain. Thank you for the day. This marks the end of this class. We'll continue tomorrow with the structure of atmosphere and the real topics of geography coming from tomorrow. Today was also some of the very significant discussions, but topics like inversion of temperature and weather will start tomorrow. Thank you. Bye. Take care.